Holy Bitcoin! We breached every level of resistance that we were talking about in our previous videos. Bitcoin at 10,800 and something in the moment. From yesterday, more than 6%. Yesterday, more than 10%. This is Bitcoin daily change. Dominance, more than 63%. As you remembered, we fall all the way down to 60. Bitcoin is finally regaining its strength. This is the breakout that we were waiting for, I would say, for weeks, but that is not true. For months is the right answer. I will show you today where we stand in our sentiment, why we became extremely greedy, why our channel is no longer valid, where we consolidated, the explosion that happened in the sentiment of the crypto investors. We will take a look at a technical analysis on a daily, weekly and monthly chart of Bitcoin, just to recap every video that we talked about Bitcoin. Before, I advise you check out our latest videos and you will see our predictions. My forecast was right and everything is pretty much moving in the direction that we were talking about. Welcome to another edition of Cryptosaurus, and if that sounds interesting to you, stick around. Just by the quick glance at top coins, you can see that we are mainly in the red, but Bitcoin is the leader of the pack, of course. The only coin, okay, not the only, but Litecoin, the little brother of Bitcoin, is following with almost 10%. Forks of Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, of course, are trying to keep up the pace with the original Bitcoin. Although we are mainly in the green, altcoins are currently on a bit of a hold. All the lights are pointed at Bitcoin, and so they should. Let's check the sentiment on crypto traders and investors. Our crypto fear and greed index is showing 76, the figure that we haven't seen more than a year. Remember, more than a year, extreme greed is here. We have not seen these levels for a long time. Let's take a look at the chart. Let's take a look at the big picture, a 1 year period of our sentiment. And this is where it will become fairly easy for you to recognize the huge change in our trend. This is the channel that we were talking about for not weeks but months. We were consolidating in a pretty neutral territory because people were neither greedish neither bearish. And as you can see, our latest move is something that completely demolished the channel, invalidated it. We move to the extreme greed territory. Please let me point you out the whole year and how significant this move is. Let's take a look. Okay, as you can see it, we never went 66 to the upside, but now in one move we breached 66 and gone to 76, just like that. Of course, some FOMO will now kicking, cause extreme greed will have its way. Greedy. I would say that extreme greed is a good opportunity to take some profits, but I think this is just the beginning of a much grander and bigger move and we will become even more greedy in the future. Let's take a look at technical analysis on every time frame that we talked about in our previous videos. So this is Bitcoin on the daily. At the time we stand at 10,122, but we breached 11,000 and touched all the way to 11,400. Wow, what a move! How do I know that this move is not a fake out? Well, according to the volume, do you see yesterday's volume? It's significantly bigger, indicating a strong momentum and real break of resistance, as you will see in our next slide. This is the triangle that we talked about, and as you remembered, we said that there is really not much space in the triangle that Bitcoin can travel for. So as you remember, we talked about the pin of the triangle and the imminent breakout that happened just a few days after we talked about it. So I could say that our analysis this time was correct. And of course, every time you make analysis, you should take into account that error is pretty much possible, but always go with your primal plan and execute it. Now let me show you on this daily chart of Bitcoin why this is a huge breakout and why I'm not afraid of some fake out. This is the resistance line from the March and from the June of this year. We broke it with momentum, with fears, with a big volume. On the daily chart, from the beginning of the year, every line of resistance was broken. Of course, this resistance line at about 10,300, $200 can become a support in the future if you expect a pullback, which is fairly possible. On the weekly chart of Bitcoin, you might remember the golden resistance that we talked about, up around $10,000 and above. We breached it. Now, if we don't close this candle below this resistance line, the bull run is fiercely on its way. The bearish scenario could still happen, and that is if our weekly candle close below this line, then red flags and warning signs are ahead of you. Until then, we are still in our bullish scenario, and upside is more probable than a downside. Just take a look. From the middle to end of last year, 2019, this resistance was holding us back. As I pointed out in some of the previous videos, as you remembered, that was our 61.8 Fibonacci resistance from the upside to the downside of the move. I will draw it for you one more time. Okay, you can see it that above $10,000 was this huge resistance at 61.8 Fibonacci retracement that we now broke. This resisted at 78.6, if you would call that even resistance, because only wicks are there. And generally, the level of 78% is not so respected, I would say, because when a move goes that far and retrace even 78%, the chances of holding that resistance are pretty slim. And now, please let me show you our monthly chart, our triangle that we were talking about so long. and that is by far the most important triangle of all. You might remember this triangle from our previous videos and the importance of it. Take a look at this month's candle. It has done what hasn't been done from the peak of 2017. The resistance is broken. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember the middle of the year 2020, we broke the most important resistance that was holding us back. Now no one can argue that we are in a bull run. Of course, this monthly candle should close above the resistance, and we have a few more days for the close. What about our ascending triangle that we were talking about? Well, it still holds. I expect fairly large resistance at 14,000, but from now on, I don't see why we couldn't go straight to the 14K. Everything we talked about in previous videos is still valid. When some of our analysis is wrong or invalid, we will accept it without shame, because a real investor and real trader should always accept their mistakes. But for now, let's keep it this way. So, what do you think about these ideas? Let me know in the comments. I would like to hear your thoughts. If you want to be subscribed, then subscribe for the future updates on this development in the Bitcoin community. And believe me, the developments will come.